Welcome to the Catholic Charities Netsmart training video. I will be your instructor for the day. My name is Robert Manfredi. Sit back and enjoy, because today you're going to learn how to use the Netsmart Avatar product. This video is going to go over the basic Netsmart concepts. The first thing we want to talk about is episodes. And episodes are a little confusing to some people, so we'll spend a few moments talking about it. In Power Tools, we have start dates and end dates for all of our clients. And most of our clients also have admit dates. So if we pre-screen someone out within Power Tools, they have a start date and then just an end date. In Netsmart, we have pre-admissions, admits, and discharges. Now, conceptually, it's exactly the same. The difference is just in the terminology, plus how to actually do a pre-admission and an admission within Netsmart is very different than what we have within Power Tools. But the concept of having 3 dates per person is exactly the same. So, for example, if we look at the bottom of our slide, on 2/1/2011, we can pre-admit someone. Hopefully within a short amount of time, under a week, we would admit them, and then much later we would discharge them. Let's say in this example, in 4/1/2013, so over 2 years later. During that 2-year period, anything that occurs within that time period is occurring within an episode. And within Netsmart, episodes are extraordinarily important, because you don't just do a progress note for a person. You do a progress note for a person within an episode. And that episode is a block of time that we do something for a client when we are legally and morally responsible for them. So, in summary, an episode is a block of time where you perform functions for a client, where you are responsible for that client. An episode is not an instance of something. If a client has a heart attack, that is not an episode. What's an episode is a time period that we are responsible for them that's got a pre-admit date, possibly an admit date, and a discharge date. States a form can be in. Well, a form is any way that you can enter data into the system. Some of the forms are always editable. You can bring up a form, you can type data in, and then you can come back to it any time later and edit it some more. There are some that are edit once only. Once you type into it, it's done and it is no longer modifiable. With draft and final, those are going to be almost all of the NICE forms that we're going to be using are going to have the draft and final concept on them. What a draft is when you start a form, you've entered data, you've entered at least the minimum number of fields that are required, and most forms only have a few fields that are required, and then you say, I don't have time to finish it, what I'd like to do is put it in draft mode. When you draft a document, it will actually go on your to-do list as an item that needs to be finished. So at some point later in time, you can bring that document back up, you can complete the rest of the missing fields, and you can finalize that document. Now, Netsmart also has an ability to route documents. And when do you route? Well, when you are finalizing a document, you have the option of to finalize it, make it completely final, as well as final for now, let me route it to someone else to determine if they will approve this document. So with routing, you're able to send a document to someone else, and then they can determine whether or not it meets whatever specific standards that form needs to have. Whether they're looking at the quality of the work that you've typed in, the completeness, I'm not quite sure. But the bottom line is routing is when it will be sent to someone else. They will determine whether or not it is appropriate, and they can either approve the document, and then it becomes truly final, or they can discount the document and say that it is rejected, Then it would go back to you, the original author, and the state would go from final back to draft. Now, the person who is rejecting the document or approving it will never have the ability to modify it. They can only approve it or reject it. The original author is the only one that can make changes to it. So that's the concept of routing. Bundles allow you to open up more than one form at a time, and they will open them up in sequence. First it will open form 1, then it will open form 2. Now, why would you want more than one form to open at a time? Well, for example, the NICE Comprehensive Assessment allows you to enter comprehensive assessment information as well as diagnosis. Now, diagnosis is a standard form within the Netsmart Avatar system. So rather than recreate that standard form within the assessment, when you do an assessment, it will open up, or assessment bundle I should say, it will open up the standard assessment form, which has everything but the diagnosis. And when you complete that and you submit it to save it, it will then open up a secondary form, which is the diagnosis form, and allow you to enter diagnosis information. This will all be rebuilt back together when you produce the NICE reports for the comprehensive assessment. It will take the assessment data as well as the diagnosis information, combine it together, and it will look just like you had entered it all on a single form, even though in reality you entered it on separate. Timeouts. The system is designed to time out after approximately 30 minutes. That time is not set at this point. It'll be 30 minutes or 45 minutes. I'm not exactly sure. But what effectively is going to happen is if you don't have any system activity, you're not clicking or typing, the system will go into a lock state and will stay in that state for another 30 to 45 minutes. In that meantime, in the time between it locks and it completely disconnects, you have the ability to log back in. What's important is when you normally log into the system, you will enter in either UAT CD Live or UAT MH Live, one for chemical dependence, one for mental health, as the system code. If you're locked in the system and you want to get back in, you instead just type CD Live or MH Live. The UAT is implied and is no longer necessary to be entered. If you do type the full system code, it will tell you invalid user ID or password and will not allow you back in. Saving data. It's very important to understand that the system is not auto-saving data as you are clicking through the system. The only way to save data is to click either the Submit button or the File Data button. Depending upon which screen you're on, it'll be one button or the other. If you do not click these buttons, or the time it takes before you type in or before you click the Submit or the File Data button, no data has been saved, and if the system crashes because of a power failure, all data will be lost up to that point. We suggest that for forms that allow you to draft documents, and drafting we just saw a moment ago is when you can do an interim save on a document and close it. We suggest that for some of the assessments which are rather lengthy, when you're about halfway through, you submit the document, which will save it at the halfway mark, then you bring it back up and you complete the document as a second step. Doing that, if there's any power failure or the system crashes, you will at least have not lost all of your data. Pre-admit and admit programs. Well, this is very different in how it's handled in Netsmart versus Power Tools or even Acumed. Within Power Tools and Acumed, each site is one program. So our Comac office is one Comac program. The Hampton Bays office is one program. In Netsmart, that gets multiplied by 2. So there's a pre-admit program for Comac and an admission program for Comac. There's a lot of reasons why this was done, and I think part of it goes to the history of that the system was designed more to be hospital-based than clinic-based. But we just have to work around how the system operates. And as long as we're aware of the fact that each site is 2 programs, we'll be fine. How to do a pre-admit versus an admit, we will show you in a completely different video. But for right now, just understand that there are 2 programs per site. How do we digitally sign a document? We have said before that this is a completely paperless environment. Well, if it's completely paperless, then how do you sign that you are authorizing a document, saying that you have approved it? Well, the clinicians do this by going through a finalization process and entering a password, which is their Netsmart password. By doing that, they're authenticating the system and saying, I am who I say I am, and I approve this document, it was created by me. Well, clients don't have user IDs and password, not into Netsmart, so the way that they digitally sign, and there's only a couple of documents that they actually have to digitally sign, the way that they do it is by using a separate signature pad, similar to the ones that you'll see in any supermarket or store of any sort. They will use a stylus, they'll sign their signature, and they'll hit an accept button, and their signature will be captured as a graphic and embedded into the application. Thank you for watching this Catholic Charities Netsmart training video. Please be sure to watch the others in the series for a further understanding of the Netsmart Avatar product.